nice front and back, leader's garment. Quite happy.
It's alright, isn't it? Looks pretty good in that bad boy.
Excellent, I think the word you're looking for is. Look at that thing. Looks beautiful, doesn't it? Beautiful.
Now, only if you're ready for this.
Welcome back to the OTB podcast, the original and still the best New Zealand mountain bike podcast. We're back. We are, what are we, about 5 days out from the Whaka 100. Is it 5 days, boys? I don't know. It's getting awfully close, though. But Lester, Chris, joining me here. How are we, mate?
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, 5 days. I was just saying to Lester a minute ago, Whaka at this point is just something I've sort of parked and thought I'll just deal with that on Sunday. Not even Saturday. Like, I'm going to deal with it when I get to it on Sunday morning. So we've got a lot on this week. We're selling our house right now, getting absolutely slammed at work. So we've just put it on the back burner until the weekend, which that's kind of been my strategy for the last 12 months anyway. So we're good. Coming into it hot.
Yeah, nice. That's great confidence. I like it. Just living in the moment, I reckon.
That's exactly it. Yeah, just turn up with the right attitude.
I feel it might be it's just 100% confidence, Chris? You're so confident in your abilities that you're just happy to turn up.
Yeah, well, I think there's a fine line between, or maybe there's a very fine difference between self-confidence and self-belief. Like, I wouldn't say I'm that confident, but I've got self-belief, and the self-belief is just that I will finish, it'll happen, but I wouldn't say I'm that confident about how it's going to happen. Yeah, what's interesting, I've actually had quite a few tapers over the last 12 months. My first taper was, well, I started prepping for this race about 18 months ago. So last year was actually prep for this year. Everyone sort of treats their Whaka as being a 12-month cycle, and I think that's a bit of a mistake. I think you've got to treat it as a decade sort of a program. So, I kind of came into last year thinking this is going to be good build-up for next year. And then since then, I've tapered 3 or 4 times. So I started tapering this time around about 3 weeks ago, I'd say. I'm feeling good. Body's feeling loose, feeling relaxed. Looking forward to it. KB, for anyone who's out there listening, and hopefully we can get a recording of this, is frozen. And the best way... Oh, he's gone!
He's completely gone now. We're here by ourselves. We can turn this place upside down.
Yeah, we should, but before we get into that, Lester, the image that I want just to stick in everyone's head is when KB froze on the camera there, he looked like Pee Wee Herman. And I'd say that's probably how he's feeling about the race. Like, he's puckering. He's tense.
He's only tense because he knows his potential. If you don't know your potential, then there's no yardstick to measure up with.
Well, there's a risky game to get into, because as soon as you start believing that your potential is limitless, then you also have nothing to aim for. So it's a bit of an inception type thing. But enough about me, Lester. How are you feeling?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. I'm much like you. All of a sudden, it's Whaka week and everything's stacking up. I got something on every night and a fair amount of work to do as well. And so it's probably not the ideal build-up week, but then it never really is. Just like training weeks, they're never really ideal. But no, it should be good. Just refreshing all the sort of 3 or 4 weather forecasts that I follow, refreshing those every couple of hours, hoping that something's changed. And it does look like it's on the improve, but anything's possible.
Yeah, I think the weather. I think everyone who's doing Whaka, even if you're doing, the 5K, the kids are looking at the weather forecast right now, going, "Ooh." I tell you what,
I'm looking
big
at the kids one. Yeah, I'm looking at the kids race because I'm going to do the race with my young fella Nico on Saturday, And it looks like, originally it looked like it was going to pour down when we were out there, but now it looks like it might be after that. So I'm kind of stoked about
Because
that,
it'll be
but
okay.
then that rain is probably going to push into Sunday now. So Sunday for us is actually looking somewhat wet, but I think, yeah, I mean, from following the weather on Rotorua for ages, other years, it just, anything can happen, but I'm pretty certain she's going to be wet.
Yeah, a couple of
Just
weeks
how
ago I
wet.
said, yeah, exactly. A couple of weeks ago on the show I said, there's a slightly sick and deranged part of me that sort of was sort of interested in the idea of it being wet, just because it would just be such a fun fight. And I've got to say, I'm still entertaining the idea. I'm still thinking, hey, it'll be interesting because who knows? What do you do on a wet Whaka?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing over there is, and I was thinking about this, do I change tyres or what? But the reality is that it's probably only a very few sections where it being wet is going to change the way that you ride a section or anything like that. Like maybe some Kung Fu Walrus, you've just got to hit everything right, because if you don't, then you're on the roots sideways maybe. But there's not many points like that in the whole course, I don't think.
It's okay. Like that's the thing, Rotorua, right? As well, wet routes in Rotorua are different to wet routes in, say, Nelson. They've still got that grit on them, and I sort of think, like we said this in the group chat the other day, I'll take rolling efficiency over descending traction and grip every day of the week. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
And also, I bought new tires and I put them on, and I did a shakedown the other day, and I was like, "Fuck, these go fast." There's no way they're coming off. Like I've made the investment, and I actually don't think I've got time to take them off again. So regardless, I'm committed to fast rolling dry tires.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly don't think that running any different tires is going to make any difference anywhere really, or not enough. Like you're saying, it's about the climbing ability of whatever you're doing. And I was thinking about this the other day. I guess if you split the hours that we're out there up, it's probably like 70-80% climbing of your time is climbing, because there's not that many areas. There's a few areas where you're on the flat, but there's not that much of it. You're either descending quite fast or you're creeping up a hill. And I reckon I'd be so interested to know. And to be honest, the only way I could figure of doing it was to look at some Strava maps and stuff. And then I was just like, no, this is way too hard basket.
That's a lot of admin.
This is where you run into the risk of just overthinking and over preparing for
100%.
an outcome. I think you've just got to go, cool, if it's raining, I'm comfortable running these tires. If it's dry, I'm comfortable running these tires. Have at it, and just treat it as an adventure.
Yeah, totally. One thing I thought about today was it doesn't look like it's going to get that hot. Like it's a high of 18 somewhere between maybe 2 and 3 o'clock if you follow the weather that I was looking at, which is not that hot. So earlier in the day, you're probably not going to want to drink as much. So a stronger drink mix would probably be a good idea, or have the same strength drink mix, but top up with more gels. Because otherwise you could get behind on your fueling because you just don't want to drink as much.
So you're suggesting that you're not going to be inclined to drink as much because you won't be as thirsty because it's not as hot, and so you're better to concentrate what you are drinking.
Yeah.
So that sounds like really good sound advice.
But I'm not probably going to change anything, to be fair. I'll just need to stop to go for a leak somewhere real early on, because I'll be like, I should have probably mixed everything a bit stronger so I didn't drink as much. But I don't know. I mean,
just going to quit fake news. Absolutely no way you're stopping to take a leak. You're peeing on the bike.
I got through the whole race without peeing last year. I didn't have to stop once, except for cramps.
I've never.
I didn't take a piss for about 5 days afterwards because I started I had literally no liquid. So I'm thinking more about It's
Your
great.
the
Sleep
muscles
really well.
required to take a leak were still cramping, weren't they, Chris? There's no fluid
Yeah.
getting out of there.
I was just to the point where I was just injecting water straight into my muscles in the day after. Like, just get in there.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one. I was thinking about this actually when we did the when I did the Whangamata cross country race a few weeks back, maybe a month ago. I got to a point and I was like really trying to stay on top of drinking because I had my carbs in my bottle, and then I was like, man, if I keep drinking at this rate, I'm actually going to have to stop for a leak. And I've only done that in a 9.5 hour race before. Never done it in anything shorter. So I really don't want to be doing that this year.
Yeah, and this is a pro tip. KB gave me some advice on the start line last year, and we've talked about going to the toilet for probably too long now, but you know, it's racing, that's part of it. If I recall correctly, the advice was put it off as long as you possibly can, because as soon as you go, you're cooked. And I think for me, I might have gone for a slash at about 50, 60K mark, and then 2 or 3 times after that.
Oh,
And it was like,
no.
it was terrible. It was just
It's the
'Cause I
classic
think
breaking the
what it-
seal. You know, as soon as you go, it's
100%.
all hell's unleashed at that point.
But that's also the bit about like managing your intake, because I did what probably most people who get it wrong do, which was didn't drink enough and then overcompensated. And at that point, nothing was being absorbed into the blood flow anyway, so it didn't matter.
Your veins were so restricted at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be it'll be different this year because
Yeah.
it's obviously going to be damp to some degree, and it's not going to be as hot as last year, I don't think. So it's quite a different ball game.
I mean, I don't know where we got to. Have we got to weather chat yet? We have obviously got to a bit of weather chat. I had some technical difficulties, which is why I disappeared there for a bit. But do we talk about the fact that probably the native stuff at the back won't be in there?
Oh, we haven't actually specified that, but yeah, I think if the weather forecasts that I'm seeing are talking 20 to 30 mil on Saturday afternoon, evening.
Yeah.
And I think if they get that, it's so hard to know because often in Rotorua, when they get short, real heavy rain, it just runs off.
Yeah.
The problem is if the native is wet at all, they'll have to pull it because Tohoto will become a death march.
Yeah.
But the problem is that's the issue, right? Like you can go and ride a Rotorua in the pissing rain by yourself, and it's like there's grip. But as soon as you put 20 people down it, plus 200, plus 400, plus 500, depending on where you are in the waves, and
plus a couple of thousand all up, it's going to make a mess of it.
Exactly. You know, it's like, so I think that's the tricky thing. It's like then you get the game of waves, right? People pushing up into the front wave just to try and stay clear for a bit and try and get good dirt. So I'll be looking at you boys watching you sprint off the line.
This is my whole theory of, kind of getting out in the front, because it's like if you can get out somewhat towards the front and you stay away from all the like absolute carnage of pile-ups and that sort of thing, it's like you can make some valuable time there.
Yeah. So what's going to be the first real wet downhill section? Will that be Boxer Birds?
Yeah, so I think do we ride a little section of Corridor, we ride Corridor, I think. Is it Corridor?
Nah, we ride the digger built flow trail beside it, I think.
Ah, okay. So that should be fine.
Well, that was another one which was actually closed the other day for some reason. I don't know what it was, but yeah, we go down Tito Karangi, I think it is.
Yeah.
Which is the smooth, like
yeah.
So Boxer Birds will be the first narrow single track descent that could really cause some time loss.
Yeah, and we're riding Fluffy Ducks down there.
Yeah.
So they actually taping it down there, because that was last year. I got cooked on that last year. Got to that split, and it wasn't that clear that it was a split, and you could choose either line. And having ridden there so many times, and just always bombed down Boxer Birds.
Mm.
As the last minute, I was like, oh shit, it goes Fluffy Ducks, and pulled back up the track and went down Fluffy Ducks. And then talking to someone afterwards, like, it was a split. So that's a good tip.
No,
probably
it
want
was.
to verify that. Does it actually just go down?
Apparently, it's Fluffy Ducks. Yeah.
It does, because I pulled into Boxer
Apparently.
Birds last year, and as I got into the start of it, the marshal was like, wrong way, and I had to stop, pull back, and turn.
So it actually was.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I did the same actually too.
Yeah.
So that's where it
Right.
goes left, eh? Does it go left?
Yeah. It goes
Yeah,
left.
Fluffy Ducks goes left. And
The
it's
climb back
quite a
up
bit
out of
longer,
there.
like, it's quite meandering.
I can't think of what the name is of the climb back up out of there, but man, that's going to have a few.
Not to.
Yeah.
As you do.
As you do. That's going to have
You do.
a few grim little sections if that's like wet.
Yeah. There's one section of that climb where you get about halfway point and it crosses the big loop trail, and you go up, and then it's this little pinchy bit of roots, and it's hard in the dry. And that's just going to be a cluster.
Mm.
I think that's the kind of stuff that's going to be a lot of like just waiting, walking.
It's the dodgy parts on that hill are pretty small.
Yeah. No, it's not.
Like,
It's not a
They're
lot.
pretty. Like, I mean, when we were talking about that, I was like, oh, I'm running basically a slick on the rear, while I'm running that ST tyre
Are
on
you
the back.
sticking with the ST on?
It's so good. You're going to rip on the downhill.
That is confidence.
You're going to be faster in the wet than you will on the dry.
It's
That's
it's
so good.
pretty amazing grip on that thing, eh? I wouldn't run it if it was. In fact, it's probably better in the wet in Rotorua than in the dry, I reckon.
I can't wait to hear the post-race report on this, because
Yeah.
what's going to happen is about 60, 70k. So it's going to happen on Kung Fu, right? Where you'll start to get pretty cooked, and your response times will just go a little bit, and you'll brake just that little bit later on everything, and you'll come into a section and you'll just forget what's going on, and you'll be like, oh yeah, no, good, hit my braking zone, and you'll just go skyrockets just straight into the bush, because you won't hook up.
You don't. If you're going fast enough that you end up ejecting out like that, you're either super confident or you're riding too hard on the descent. That's my take. However, I will add the caveat that I am waiting to see. I will take a slightly knobbier rear tyre, but the reality is that my slightly knobbier rear tyre is probably not going to be much different. So I am just going on the fact that there's such few places on the track that are like that, and all I care about is the uphills.
Fair.
That's it. And traction wise for the climbing, there's only a couple of bits where I'd be concerned about that, and if the native stays in, might have to reassess my
Most of
entire
the climbs-
tyre choice.
Most of the climbs are pretty groomed, really. Like, most of the climbs are pretty...
Yeah, the problem is it depends how much rain that we get.
Yeah.
It depends how far back I am when I'm there, because it gets like I was through there the other week, and it is mushy. It was quite mushy, and it wasn't even that wet. So
Yeah.
Are
you doing
I'll
the
tell you what I'm
Eliminator,
probably
Lester?
more concerned
No.
about.
Nah. So this is my strategic
You
move.
are though, AKB.
So I've entered the Eliminator just to do a qualifier, because that gets you, if you do a top 8 qualifying time, that gets you in the front 2 rows off the start, without having to turn up balls early and try and battle towards the front of the front of the pack for the rest of it. So this is my thing. I paid a $45 premium to give myself a chance of getting a good start position. So I'm just showing up to lay down a qualifier.
So you're saying you're not gonna really compete in the Eliminator?
I'm not intending
he's
on
just doing qualifying, and then
I'm just doing the qualifying, and then
Okay. And how confident are you that you're gonna get into the start corral, and old KB is gonna be there, and you're gonna go, I can't not race, I can't not compete here. How are you gonna take it back?
Well, see, this was on my mind the other day, because I know
Dog was here right now, he'd be.
Yeah, we all know what I'm like, and I mean, I've got a wee bit of a competitive streak, but Nah, I'm telling myself because last year I think that was half of what cooked me was racing the Eliminator and doing all these high power sprints, putting out the highest power numbers I ever have the day, well, 2 days before I do a 100k race, which I've never done. So I was like, right, just got to be sensible.
That seems ill advised.
Yeah, I think that's a fair call. I do like the idea of starting at the front, but for me, I think that I've got more to gain by not starting, having a hectic start and being slightly further back, and hopefully saving a tiny little bit for the climbs. But we'll see how that pans out. I mean, I'm hoping to line up just behind you anyway, Kieran. So
you probably will. Yeah, I just didn't want to have to do the hustle of like getting in, because last year I remember looking around and it was like I blinked and then I was like, holy shit, that keyhole is already full. Like the first wave
it's nuts.
You had to be there real early, because I was spent the whole time, because my qualifying time got a bit screwed up last year because I did open 100k, but I raced an elite in the Eliminator, so my qualifying time didn't go across, so I wasn't officially in the qualifying 2 rows. So this year I've just entered open men for the Eliminator to hopefully ease any issues.
Yeah, see, KB, I think your strategy is commendable, and it's an intelligent strategy. I think I've got a better strategy though. So I'm on the first wave, but I'm going to go at the very back of the first wave. So I'm effectively getting a 30-second head start on the second wave, or whatever the wave gaps are. So I'm going to ride on a clear track because the whole first wave will be out the front door. And I'll have, and I didn't have to pay $45 for it.
You're so smart, Chris.
Interesting.
If only we had your wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just actually on that. I issued a bit of a half-hearted apology last week when we caught up, but I feel like I've got to double down on that because I've been accused of sharing a lot of misinformation and also disinformation on the podcast.
Not again.
I had in the space of 2 days, I had 3 separate people message me personally on social media, kind of sort of friendly, jokingly, sort of like suggesting that my training plan and my nutrition plan was ill-advised.
Was that me, Kieran, and Red Dog?
No, you guys told me that directly.
I didn't know you used any social media.
I got sent a letter in the mail saying, "Hey, check Instagram," and I had a message from Cabin. So like
pigeon turned up.
Yeah, pigeon post. I just had a sense. It was like Cabin must have said something. So Cabin sent me a message and said, I think your approach is misguided. So yeah, we've done a 180 on that, and we're going to invest in some gels, some fluid drink. But my one pro tip, I don't think I spoke very clearly about last week as well, is I've got to freeze the little chest bottles in my my hydration pack. I'm going to fill them with Coke and I'm going to freeze them. Which actually, when I think about it now with the weather forecast, last year that would have been great because the idea is that they would have melted in time for when I needed them, and I would have had the Red Doctor right when I needed them, but they would have melted. But this time, actually, if I do that, I'll actually probably just get frozen nipples. So
they might snap off.
Maybe you should warm the Coke up, bring it in hot.
Plan, feel prepared early. Yeah, well, actually, maybe the answer is to go and get, and I think I can probably expect more social media comments on this, but you need to make soda stream, and you get the liquid, the concentrate for your cola flavors and bits and pieces.
Oh, now we're talking.
You're going to go straight.
I'm thinking that might be
straight
a
concentrate.
way to get some gels. Just go straight concentrate. So we've got the hydration pack, and we're going to have little chest bottles, and they're just going to be filled with sodas. We'll have creaming soda on one side and Coca-Cola on the other. Happy days.
I thought maybe you were talking about getting some nitrous oxide, something like talking about soda stream.
Bottle of nitrous.
Big bottle too, a huge one.
It doesn't.
It's just going to be hooked up.
It doesn't
We're-
quite
we're
work
gonna
the
be-
same as
we're
it
gonna be
does in
having the,
Fast and the Furious. If you're taking it yourself.
Quite the opposite.
What,
No, we'll be
well,
looking
just,
for the little green whistle. We'll be looking out for the St. John.
what about just a bunch of nangs? Can you just load your pack up with those? Be a bit jangly.
Oh, man.
I do crack up. I do crack up when like the odd slightly naive person has said to me in the past, "Oh, these blooming cyclists leaving their CO2 canisters everywhere," and I'm like, "No.
We
Car park.
when I was in Cairns at Crankworks a couple of years ago, we went out for a ride one morning early, and Ross is like, "Oh, I found this hill on Strava. It looks like heaps of people. The heat map's real hot up there, so we'll go ride that." And we get up to this car park at the top, and the fucking cyclists had just been dropping their CO2 canisters everywhere. It was like the car park was just littered with nags. It was like, "Oh, welcome to Cairns, tropical paradise."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having never cracked a nang, listeners out there, if you've got any advice on this, please send it in. But does it give you a temporary sense of pain relief at all? Because that does sound like a half decent idea, and I'll be carrying a couple of canisters with me. So, like, what I'm thinking
don't
is,
know.
like, okay, wet day, you're less likely to get a puncture. Put the CO2 canisters to better use.
Don't
Let's
think
find
it works
out.
like that.
It is nitrous oxide producing
Yeah,
mood-altering effects. Laughing gas, nangs, bulbs, whippets, or nos.
I'll take any mood-altering effects I can get at 85 k's.
That's probably pretty good, I reckon. I don't know if it impairs your like primary functions of being able to like use your muscles properly.
I
Or what.
don't think you'd be able to ride in a straight line.
You also don't want to black out, because isn't that another thing? They like
I think
black
so.
out because of too many.
Yeah.
I'm going to be riding the last 50 k's cross-eyed anyway, Lester. We're not too concerned.
So
It's
maybe
gonna
it'll
be black.
cancel it out. It'll actually straighten you up. There's
Like
only
a
one
double
way
negative.
to find out. Yeah.
See, this is where I think we're running into. Like, this all seems very ill-advised, is what I've learned lately. Like,
Yes, I'd say we're going down that route again.
Just stick to the trusted route of train effectively, prepare, and good nutritional intake.
Do you know what?
I don't know.
The
I
reality
mean,
is,
if we look at your scheme though, you've kind of got everything covered, because you're going to be eating, what was it, pickles? Was the original thing, pickle juice?
I had a new thought on that. Actually, I think Kevin might have. He might do me for defamation on this. It's either Kevin or Dr. Scotty, but two reliable sources on this. They said, if all else fails, soy sauce. So when you go and get your sushi and you get the little fish.
Are you going to take some
little
fish?
soy sauce fish? Just thinking we'll just take a couple of those little soy sauce fishes.
Not a bad
What
idea.
about a wee dragon roll for lunchtime at the same time?
Imagine trying to get that down. You're absolutely cooked, and you just get a little California roll.
I bet you what will solve
Chopsticks
your
out.
I bet you what will solve your cramp problems is some wasabi. Proper good wasabi would solve your cramp problems. Opens up the airways.
Solve your sinus issues. No, it's my sinus issues.
Whatever it does to your stomach, though, all the Tums and the Gaviscon that you're going to be eating around the track, like your guts will be perfect.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll be chewing my face off with Gaviscon. Just
If
Gaviscon and sushi.
anyone who's listening and hasn't heard our previous episodes, you probably want to rewind and go and listen to them so we don't sound completely.
Yeah. Hopefully
off
they
the
haven't
planet.
started from scratch on this episode.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, Red
This
Dog.
is not
Anyway.
the episode you want to listen to for your prep.
Thanks
Yeah.
for having me, Kerry. And
Hey,
the
better
rest
late
of the
than
panel.
never, right?
Well, I've jumped in for Nang Chat, which is, you'd think that was unexpected, but it's not really. And then Chris is
No.
saying if all else fails, soy sauce. How much has had to fail to get you there?
Yeah, a lot.
What was
Yeah,
their
well,
theory around the soy sauce?
Sodium.
Well, I'd say it's probably similar to the pickle theory. In fact, actually, it takes back to the fault line epic. I was standing in the queue
St.
registration evening. Yeah, getting chicken and rice. They're standing in the registration building night before the race, and the fault line was run and ride event, right? So you had people doing an ultra run, and there was a couple of guys in front of me just having a casual conversation to one another, just casual as you like. One of them goes, "Oh, have you got your pickle juice yet?" And the other guy goes, "Oh no, I'm going to go and pick it up after this." And I almost pissed myself. I was like, "Shit, we're actually doing that." They would have been optimal Wilsons straight after the event, after the check-in to get a can of pickle juice. So I'm wondering now, to answer the question, Red Dog, if all else fails, what's happened is your glass bottle of pickle juice is just shattered in your backpack because you've had a crash because you've been running Aspen STs and you've just cooked it and you've blown a bottle of pickle juice, but you're prepared and you've got a couple little fishies of soy sauce. So that's how you've ended up in that situation.
Are you suffering some major injuries to your back from the shattered pickle jar at the same time?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're wearing
that white jersey is not going to be in a good state.
Can I make a suggestion, Chris? I don't know if you've seen them, but you can actually buy a pickle in a semi-vacuum bag.
Much like a
not
salami.
Gonna crack. It's like a salami, but it's not vacuum packed. It's like in a resealable, like a Ziploc packet.
Maybe he could.
That's what you want.
Maybe he could punch.
Cucumber, yes.
Maybe he could punch a juice straw
it's like
straight
a
into the
baby's arm
packet.
holding an apple.
Wow, this episode has gone sideways.
Welcome,
Anyway.
Red Dog. Can you get us back on track?
Oh no, not really. It's a hard task to get you guys back. Really is.
It is.
Dog, you've missed our weather chat and our tyre chat.
Well,
So
have we
what's your
talked
tyre
about
for?
how you cursed everyone, Moki? Because not only did you say it's always the first hot weekend, but also you ordered us white kits this year.
Yep. He knew it was coming, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely knew it was coming.
You watch,
Gotcha.
Lisa's going to roll up in white bib shorts as well.
Oh,
While he's in Melbourne,
it's bold.
he's gone and found the one pair of white bib shorts he can find. He's rocking white bib shorts.
Did I not order you guys the black version of the kit?
No, it's a stitch up, isn't it? It's a stitch up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be heinous.
But I don't know. Is it going
So
to
you're
be
gonna
that
go?
bad? It looks wet on Saturday.
I think it's on the improve. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be wet. It's just how wet is the question.
I agree with
It's
Moki.
been changing a lot,
Yeah.
so
It also
We'll
depends
see.
what you look at, but from what I have seen in the past, the Met Service is not the place to look.
Where would you
No,
go, Moki?
you-
Where's your go-to?
Are you
Well,
saying our
here's what
government
I-
weather agency is not accurate?
Well, who really knows?
It's all in the
But I would say no.
interpretation. It's all in the interpretation.
I honestly,
You've got to ask what's in it for them, though, Kieran. What's in it for them?
I thought they planned the weather. Don't they seed the clouds and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, something like
Wrong
that.
podcast.
Yeah.
What I usually look at is the MetView maps.
The one that looks like it's done in MS-DOS. It's like real
Yeah,
old school looking.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a
Photo
GeoCities
of the
website.
day. Yeah.
GeoCities, that's a throwback.
And you kind of have to interpret that yourself, but that unfortunately still looks very wet on Saturday afternoon.
Mm.
But
Yeah, well,
that's generally what I've gone with.
Saturday, yeah. I mean, this Norwegian website that I use, yr.no, yeah, is saying 24 mil for Saturday now, which it had been at 40 yesterday. So who knows?
Wyres over predicts its rainfall hugely. I've found,
Yeah.
Kerry, and I'll know this because I live somewhere that actually rains.
Yeah, I'm not that familiar with this precipitation you talk of.
Sunny Nelson, you wouldn't be familiar with that.
Yeah, Sunshine Capital.
So here's one that would kind of suit us. It says this is Saturday on the old AccuWeather.
I like how we're just going for what suits us. This one suits us.
16
Let's go with
mils
this
of rain.
one.
Lester's literally doing his own research. Like,
It also says hours of rain 10.
yeah, that's a lot.
I've got a I found a Reddit thread that suggests it's going to be sunny.
Oh,
And
perfect.
I'll do my own research on that.
I think we'll know by Friday what
Yeah.
we're looking at, lads. If
That'll be
not by
right.
Friday, then by Saturday night.
Do you know what? By Sunday,
question
we'll
is-
have a pretty good gauge of it, I reckon, by Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. Am I going to be
what's the
changing my
latest?
tyres on the start line?
Yeah, you're going to be up at 5 a.m. eating a can of fucking creamed rice. The fourth
You're
one
correct
that you've
about
eaten, the fourth one you've eaten that night. You've been up at, you've had your alarm set every 2 hours eating a tin of creamed rice, and then you're going to be changing a tyre, and you're going to accidentally put creamed rice into your tyre instead of sealant. That's how it's going to go.
Well, at least if I get lost and hungry, I can pop the tyres open.
You won't
What's
get a
that?
flat either.
He's sealant into his hydration pack as well.
Yeah.
He was talking about mixing it strong.
Yeah, he's picked up a hydration pack at the first feed zone and gone, oh, fuck, I just need to crack into this. And he's so tapped because he's been going so hard to try and get off the front. He's been sprinting for the first 30 Ks. And it's just taken a big mouthful of sealant. Thanks,
Big
Stan.
mouthful of stands.
So wrong on so many levels.
So here's another question I have, particularly for you, KB. How condensed do you think the front of the race is going to be at the first feed zone? Not that I'm going to be at the front of the race, but
I mean, at that point last year, when I got to the bag drop last year, which was in a different spot,
that was a lot further on.
there was no one around. When I went through the feed zone at the car park where the bag drop is this year, I was with a group of maybe 5 or 6. And so it was it had already spread out a good amount by then. I think the big factor in the start of the Whaka to me is the Box of Birds descent, and as you do climb out of there, because that's where you really start separating people.
Yeah.
Because that's your biggest single track descent and climb early on. So that's when you actually people start dropping back and you start getting gaps and that sort of thing.
I feel like it's probably going to be. I feel like it'll be pretty. Yeah.
It depends how far up you are. There's going to be some. I mean, there is going to be some big backlogs of people in there, I reckon. But again, this is my whole theory of kind of starting the day early and hopefully not in too much traffic.
Start at the front. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, it's going to be worst case, hopefully, a minute or two, which in the grand scheme of the day,
yeah,
it only matters if you're right at the front. Really.
That's so efficient though there as well with the bag drop.
Yeah, totally. They are very efficient. My question is really because I've definitely had times when I've come into the feed zone with other people, and yeah, I mean I've never spent more than a minute and a half, maybe a minute at worst, when I actually refilled my Camelback one year.
Yeah.
The first year I did it. Anyway, it is what it is.
Have we raffled off the prize of getting to be Leicester's feeder for 12 months?
Oh, is it a 12-month stint, is it?
Like a feeder,
Yeah,
they're coming in to feed them up.
Yeah, right.
Well, this kind of thing is, as the person who wins the prize, you can choose. You can choose when you feed them. You can choose what events you feed them at. You can choose to just go on the weekend and just feed them on the weekend.
Just
So,
feed
because
them
you
at
were
home.
looking for a feeder, were you?
I was looking for a feeder. Yeah.
Did you find a feeder?
I
Or
found
did you
one.
read that article I sent you about feeders?
I found one and sent him the link, and then he backed out. I don't know.
Did you find them on Reddit?
No, I'm like full self-sufficient. I don't rely on other people anymore. The only person I can rely on is myself.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking
And
of
even then, I'll probably
self-sufficiency,
be too lazy to go and hide my bottles in the bush.
Yeah, see, that's
Saturday
it.
in the
I'm
rain.
going to rely
Especially if it's pissing
on
with
you,
rain.
because I'm going to rely on you. Yeah, I'm going to rely on you hiding bottles in the bush and not being able to find them, and then I'm going to find them.
He should draw a treasure map.
Australian man.
Yeah, so Chris just
I'm
unroll
gonna
a
hide.
mask.
We'll hide each other's bottles around the course.
It's like a geocaching thing. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
But does it?
It's QR codes.
Yeah.
You gotta scan. You find a bottle. You gotta scan the QR code to the bottle to find the next one.
Yeah.
No, you've got to
Bring
you've got to
the
take a
kids along,
drink
they
and
love
decide
that.
whether is it fuel or is it stands. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a sort of a like a Hunger Games sort of thing. It's like you find a bottle and it's like, do you drink it? Do you not?
Yeah.
Drink it at your own peril.
Could be poison.
And he sends you so far off track. Like you're around the other side of Blue Lake trying to find this bottle that left is hidden out there somewhere just so you can get some hydration in there. And then it stands.
Whoops.
So what are we thinking?
I've got a serious question for you.
Oh, so
Sorry, I've got one quick question to come back on. On what you were talking about earlier. This is a serious question. So, in a road race or a gravel race, if you fall off the back of a group, you're riding alone, and there's obviously
off the peloton.
an efficiency penalty there. Yeah, but how does that play out? Do you think in this race, like at the front of the pack, like if you fall off the back, is it just a psychological thing? Because there's no gain of drafting someone for the most part, right?
I think it's a pacing thing because when you're on your own and you're like I'm going all right, and then someone will come past you, and then all of a sudden you pick up and keep up with their pace, and you're like, I can ride this pace. Like I've been riding slow, but you think you've been kind of working. I think that's probably the biggest factor because it's like if you can ride that pace when you're on your own, it's hard to gauge. Am I actually going fast? Am I not? Unless you're really kind of in tune with your perceived effort. Obviously, it's no hero
So what's
games.
your take on that?
Yeah, I have a slightly different take on it, but that's probably.
But you're also 10 years older than us.
Yeah, I know that's a pretty sad state of affairs, to be honest.
You've got
I actually think that For me, if a group pulls away and I fall off the back, it's genuinely because I can't hold their pace, and I'm gone. Like I will hang until I'm to the point where I'm like, nah, this is actually going to cook me, and then I'll just have to ride my own pace. But I feel like I don't really ride slower than I need to be, and sometimes you need to ride slower on the day, right? Like you go through those peaks and troughs, and other people will be in their peak when you're in your trough, and you've just got to be like, okay, I'm going to let you go, and then a lot of time, if you don't go too hard, you'll catch them back again. I mean, it's very different in that top bunch, Kieran's bunch, to the bunch behind where I am. I think it's quite a different style of racing.
Like last year,
just thinking back over other years and other races, I'm just like in and out and up and down, and so is everyone else.
Well, last year, I was with a group of young guys, probably early 20s. I think they were all under 23 XC races. And I stayed with them all the way out to the Black House car park, which is where the bag drop will be. And then it was when we started that climb up out of there. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I've got to back it down now or I'm going to cook myself instantly. But then, so I dropped back and they disappeared. But then I was looking at the results, and they were maybe only 5 to 10 minutes faster at the end of the day, over the whole race. So it's it was probably actually played in my favour to back it off at that point, because otherwise I might have totally blown up later on.
Because you assume they're up the road, right? You're like, oh, I haven't seen them again, so they're 30 minutes ahead. But in reality, they're just round the next corner. You just need to see them.
Yeah.
I find, having done a little bit of racing, I'm all good to let someone blow my doors off on the climb, so long as it's not too close to a descent. Because I get real complacent if I catch someone and I'm a bit cooked. I'm like, oh, well, I'll just sit behind you for a while because I'm tired. But in reality, you can probably go a bit faster.
Yeah.
On the downhill.
On the downhill, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just keen. I'm ride hard on the climb, and if I see somebody within sprinting distance,
You gotta
I
go
will
through.
go 10-10.
Yeah.
So long as I know that I can get enough gap on them that they're not going to be able to sit on my wheel down the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if, as I have done in the past, I'm like, just let me go in front and then you follow my lines and you'll be able to keep up. And then you bury it so that you drop them. And then they get pissed at you.
I've got to give you credit for that move because I pulled that one of the Whaka last year and it was brilliant. It was the best move.
Yeah, if you can make it work, it's so good.
Would you rather bury yourself in the last stretch of a climb to drop in front of someone than just back yourself to catch them on the downhill anyway and pass them somewhere on the downhill?
It's hard to pass people on a lot of those downhills.
You probably won't pass them on the downhill because most of
Who the fuck am I talking to? We've got the biggest names of New Zealand downhill on the podcast here. Who are these guys? You're
the difference though. The only thing is like the percentage difference between, like us and the people who are around us on a descent might be 10%.
Yeah,
So to get past them, you've got to be going 20 to 30% faster, which you're not going to do. And you've got to then find a gap, right?
Yeah.
No one wants to pull over. You're better to sprint into the front of them. And if you know that you're going to be 15% faster than them, you're better to put that effort in to get in front at the start. And then you just roll. And if you can roll past them, I mean, all it takes is you have one, thinking about Kung Fu Walrus, where there's those funky roots. And if you stay hard right, you can hop. But if the dude behind you goes low, there's 30 seconds, 20 seconds straight away, and you're gone.
Yeah.
Yes,
Last year I used that
that's-
move on No Brains. And if I hadn't done it down there would have been nowhere to pass. Like I would have just sat behind the dude the whole way down that trail.
Totally. And that's where you're screwed if you're behind on a long track like that.
So I think that's the difference between the category that I'm riding in and you guys, because I noticed this last year, is I'd get to downhills. Like I'm probably racing amongst guys who are doing Taupo in a respectable time, but they're not that quick on the downhills. So I was catching people on downhills and people were letting me by. And I think that's just a huge difference in the category of like racing. We're racing.
I think you're right.
Is what I'm saying.
I think it makes a big difference depending where in the field you are, for sure. Because you, like, just purely because of the amount of climbing that there is, a strong climber will have such an advantage. Like,
But it's like you said, like the guys around you guys are all going to be, like, you might be 10% faster than them on downhill because they're all going to be bloody good bike riders regardless. And I think that's a real difference between, like, someone who can turn up to Whaka and put in a good, respectable time just because they're a good athlete is very different to that next tier that you guys are operating in, which is good athletes but bloody good bike riders as well.
I don't know about the good athlete part. But
yeah, I don't know about that either. But I think that
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it all comes down to your strengths, right? You play to your strengths to some degree, but there's only so much you can gain out of a descent. And like you were saying, KB, out No Brains, if you get caught behind someone down there, I would, if somebody wouldn't let me past, I would be like buzzing their back tyre to try and either force a mistake, aka go over the bars, or have them pull over. There's a lot of time. If you're going slow down there, there's a lot of time.
Mikey's willing to kill a guy.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
No, over the bars into the bank. Not down the bank.
Yeah, see, this is the killer instinct I'm more interested in hearing about, Lester. And also, like, you're buzzing his back tyre to force a mistake. I think what you've done there is you've buzzed his back tyre and pushed him off the track.
This sounds like some Baja 500 type shit.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like it.
You in a trophy truck or on a Santa Cruz Blur?
Are you running the GoPro this year? Like, is there going to be footage of this?
Nah,
It'll be covered in mud. That's excessive weight that you don't need. Plus, what
And
have you done with
it's
your
too
footage
heavy.
from last year?
He
Well,
replays it every training session. Motivation.
That's right.
He's doing
When I
7
go-
hours on the trainer
on
watching
YouTube.
watching his point of view from last
Yeah.
year. And his heat suit.
Unfortunately, most of the time I was by myself, and there's only so much like POV that you can watch, i.e. none.
POS.
So it was kind of a waste of time.
You got to honestly, but I've actually got my hands on that footage. I've uploaded it to a website with the title of "Skinny White Guy Getting Fockered."
I can imagine it kind of being like the Blair Witch Project. Like Lester's there, he's got like snot running out his nose, and he's like, "I'm just cramping so bad right now. Like I don't know what to do."
It's just in tears.
Yeah, totally. There is footage similar to that for sure. When I first came out of Billy T and Chris's leg lock up zone, I was cramping as well, and I sat on the side and I had the GoPro going, and I was like, "Well, that's me. It's game over here." And then I pushed on.
So good.
Yeah. Interestingly, I was looking at my times because I've never compared the previous year. A slightly different course, I guess, but I was like 24 minutes slower last year than the year before, which is a significant amount slower.
Well, yeah, because you said, I mean, like last year I came in having not done the event, and I kind of benchmarked myself off your result from the year before. Because you were like just over 6 hours. You were like a 6:03 or 2.
6:01.
Yeah.
6:01 maybe. Yeah.
And I think that was why I was like, right, I want to go beat 6 hours, because I was like, damn, Lester's been right there, and I was like, I want to crack 6 hours. So yeah, you must have been informed that year before.
Yeah, I don't know what I did, but
were you in a
whatever it
painter's
is,
suit?
I don't think I've been able to. No, but I tell you what, I was looking at some photos, and I ran just bottles that year. So I don't know how I did that.
You must have.
Did you lose them?
No, I didn't.
Maybe
lose
that
bottles,
was what the key was.
Yeah, he kept his bottles the whole day.
Yeah,
that certainly contributed to.
The more
year.
I think about it, the more I wonder how much the heat last year actually did fucker more people, because I didn't realise that you guys all cramped in the same place. Yeah. I thought that was just my poor preparation, but it turns out that maybe I was being a bit hard on myself.
No. After a little more thinking and reviewing what we spoke about in our last cramped cast that we did, so it's we were talking about neuromuscular fatigue as a big component of it, right? As well as going harder than you have in your training more often, as well as heat or electrolyte. Possibly those two things are combined. But I was thinking about this, and obviously that Tohoto Billy T run was long, and you were in that like squatting position for a long time, which we covered that on the previous episode. And all those things combined with, I think the neuromuscular part of that is probably quite hectic down there, because you're trying to push fast. You're on this little tiny bike, all those things. You're in this position. It's hot. You're sweating heaps. You probably haven't drunk almost that whole trail.
Because Teo was physical. That was physical last year, and you'd also just done that whole frontal lobotomy climb, like up to the top. It was a hefty climb. Like you were well fatigued, and then you went into like, I don't know, it was probably a good 10 minutes of descending over like routes and single track.
And this is what I learned last year, and then learned at the fault line is I was getting to the downhills just way too excited and racing the downhills. And I must, I looked at this since when I've been like out for a ride and looked at my heart rate at the bottom of like a decent downhill and I'm going fast. And I'm like, I'm peaking on the downhills. And it's like the best thing I think I learned out of last year is just chill out on the downhills, because you use way more energy than you think you actually do, because you don't think you're not climbing, so you don't think you're expending energy, but you're wasting your muscles when you're doing that.
It was split ends last year, because I was like, right, here's like big descent. I can make up lots of time down here. And ultimately, it probably is what fucked me as I got into old Chevy, because I'd push really hard down split ends, and then I was like trying to sit and pedal and everything through all those little undulating climbs, and that was where I started cramping real bad, where I got the double quad hamstring lock up. And whereas in reality, I probably should have been riding split ends and sitting down everywhere that I possibly could, and just getting off the pins.
That's what I was doing, but out of necessity. I
Yeah.
remember the year before on the hardtail, that was like the decider when I needed to go for a proper bike, because
so brutal.
you couldn't sit down, so every time you'd sit down to get off the pins, you'd just get like hammered again, and you'd have to stand up. I was like, no, I can't
Even
do
on
it
the
again.
folly down
Can't
there,
do this
you can't
again.
really. There's not much many places to sit down. But
It's gotta be a
wonder
few
what
sections.
Tired, Loki. My legs are so tired by that point.
Oh, it's so brutal. But where do you sit down? You can't. Well, I
I'll
can't.
find a place, mate.
What I'm interested to know down there is if you're really pushing hard and you're like, enduro race run down there, and then you just went 80% effort and just kind of cruised, pedaled out of the turns, but no snap, just like pump and roll. How much time difference is there? And would you make that time in that track after it?
Yeah.
So I think that what you're talking about is probably, I think doing that down Billy T probably cost me about 15 minutes across the course of the race, because I walked all of Pondy Elevator last year, because I knew that if my heart rate went over like 154, I was probably going to cramp. So that's essentially after Billy T. My only way to manage everything
My heart rate never went under 154
I have to keep
the
my
whole
heart rate
day.
under.
Yeah.
Well, that was it, right? So like,
Neither.
yeah, but you run a high heart rate, KB.
My average was like 175 for 6 hours.
Whoa.
Yeah, mine's usually like 180.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys
guys
run
are weapons, though.
We're Revin
hard
high.
program.
High Revin 77.
Yeah.
High Revin.
High Revin
Just like
87s.
Rick McLaughlin likes to talk about on the broadcast. Like Bruni being a low rever with his 130,
Well, you'd only probably
130
be
BPM
like
heart rate.
140 if you, you should get a whoop,
What
then
is-
Oh.
your heart will be way lower.
Maybe we should get
Yeah.
whoops.
What's your current resting, actually, guys? Quick one.
Hey, I've
what
got
is
an
your resting
issue.
heart rate right now?
I just got a hamstring cramp as I'm sitting here. No joke.
Fuck off. That's
Yeah.
so good.
This is a bad omen. Oh, I swung my leg back under the chair and my hamstring cramped on me. Oh, this is not good.
Someone call Paddy Gow. We need to get that deep dive into cramp.
Yeah, I think Paddy Gower on cramp.
Yeah.
Paddy Gower on cramp and nangs.
My resting heart rate, Chris, is about
Yeah.
50, 59, 58, 59.
Hang on.
What?
Yeah.
Right now? No.
And not like average daily is about 58, 59, something like that. So
That's why he's such
Mine's
a weapon.
mine's like 45.
yeah.
Mine's about 68.
Yours is 45, Chris. Is this while you're
That's an
sleeping?
athlete right there.
Right. While you're sleeping, yeah. Mine's probably down.
No, just
Yours is
I think it
55.
is anyway.
So 45. Mine's 43.
45.
No, I've got no idea. What are you
this is
running
now-
now?
This could say, I actually don't know whether it's a good thing or not. Like I don't know what good looks like.
It actually is
Heart
like,
rate,
it's
resting heart
more
rate.
comes down to like you, like not, it's just like who you are. It doesn't.
Yeah,
all
I think.
relative.
Yeah, see, I
Look,
read a
I
thing
don't-
that crocodiles have got really, really low resting heart rates.
Yeah, they do.
So, and I quite like crocodiles. So I'm just going to go with just channel crocodile.
Well, eat.
Look, I studied.
is it
I
meat?
did like 6 months of sports science, so I've got some experience in this.
6 months of sports science.
I studied for 6 months sports. Anyway,
Was that at
from my
Hamilton Boys
understanding-
High?
Oh, good.
No, it's at Hamilton at the Wintec, man.
Oh, yeah.
Lester,
yeah,
you've been practicing sports science for your whole life.
exactly.
You're
I
the most
studied it.
scientific mountain biker I've ever met.
Yeah, exactly. Not at all. Not at all. I don't think I passed.
Except for that
single
tyre
thing.
choice.
Anyway, my point is that, from my understanding, it's more about your your range rather than how high or low your heart rate goes. It's how your
Oh, so it's like being a singer.
Right.
How many beats
Exactly,
you can
yeah.
get between each?
how many beats between each,
Yeah,
and then there's
yeah.
like beats in reserve and some calculations you can do around that to
Beats
find
per
different things.
Yeah, right.
Obviously, I only did 6 months. I don't really know what those things are that you find out, but
Yeah. Yeah. You found out how to calculate your heart rate. I saw you doing this before. Just the one, two. Oh, was it a beat? Or was that me talking? Three. Oh shit! Was it five? Who knows? He's out on the track. He's lost his computer halfway around the race, and it's going up the climb, going, "What's the fucking heart rate at the moment?" He's got his finger on his neck.
well, you
Counting his
don't want
heart
to
rate.
max out, man. Don't want to max out. No, it all
Oh, that's
sounds
good.
very scientific and organized, but I'm anything but. So
Yeah. Yeah. Huge moment as well. I just want to celebrate this publicly with my friends. Big moment for me this week. Bought my first cycle computer.
That was exciting to
So
see.
we've got a Garmin Edge 130, but I've almost already decided to throw it away. And you know why? Because it's got this stupid fucking jump alert thing.
You can
So I went
turn
out
that
for a
off.
ride.
you know you can turn that off.
Oh,
Eh?
I will
I
be.
believe
Yeah,
you.
well, yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, it sounds like it's not as easy as it should be. I went out for a ride.
It's pretty
and,
easy.
Shakedown the other day, and dropped into just a flow trail, and it's beeping at me like every 5 meters. I'm
It's
like,
the boomer
this thing's
beeps.
gotta go. It's gotta go.
Don't try and
Yeah.
tell us that you're
And then
off doing jumps every 5 minutes.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Fred
Listen
Get
to
out of
this
here.
guy.
I was,
You should
I was-
hear my
I was on the
jump
pub
thing.
track.
Oh, just going off all the time.
No, I put it on the 20 inch and took it down the BMX track in Karori. How fast am I going down the back straight? Yep, good. So
Are
anyway,
you running
you
a
guys can,
heart
I'm
rate
just
strap with
where I
it?
am. No, not yet. But I'm going to be all Garmined up actually because I've got my watch just so I can see what the time is. I've got my computer and I have my PLB with me as well. So if I need to, I can pull an emergency locator beacon helicopter pickup. So we'll be
Smart
somewhere
move.
out by No Brains, I'd say. Yeah.
You reckon you'll make it that far?
Yeah. I'm backing myself to the 80k mark.
Yeah, good. It's good. You got to back yourself. Right, boys. I think it's time that we, got some sleep, rested up. There's only a few days to go, and we'll reconvene on Friday in Rotorua on base at the event.
Hey, happy carb loading week, by the way, guys. How are you enjoying your carb loading week? This is the best week of the year for me. No
I'll be
riding,
away for a week.
no exercise, just eating all week. It's great.
Should actually go do some carb loading for
What's
bed.
Red Dog got in front of him?
You enjoy putting on 2 kilograms, Chris?
Yeah, that I've
Four.
got a shed.
Bring the painter's suit.
Kieran's
and sweat that out.
Kieran's just drinking gels all week.
Yeah,
He's
I'm
got 4 gels before bed.
This is my gut training. I just eat gels this week. I don't actually eat anything else. No solid food.
You're like a camel. You've got a whole extra hump that's full of gel that you can just call on when you need it.
I'm exclusively drinking pure race fuel and taking gels. That's my week.
All day, every day.
Outstanding.
Yeah, just mixing it up like a soup for dinner.
Oh.
Are you using the spoon or a straw, KB?
You put any
Just a
solids in there?
I'm
You can mix
just
some-
straight
you
out
can
of the
mix some
bowl, just
cereal in
slurp
there
it
as well.
straight out. Maybe some oats in
Actually-
there.
I'm a little concerned. Yeah, you probably want some oats because your lack of fiber might stodge things up a bit. You'll be carrying excess stool that you should be getting
Right.
rid of.
It's gut training.
Good.
KB's doing a colonic on Friday night. Turning up to the colonic
You're-
on Friday night.
you're helping.
Hey, KB, I'm here, mate.
You're going to be helping me, Chris.
I've never felt lighter.
Nah, friend of the show, Nathan Sherritt, you can take that job.
Could you just grab
He
this hose
knows,
for
he
me?
knows a thing or two about hydraulics and things, so he can take care of it.
Oh, well. Before we go, I mean,
Alright.
we've been sidetracked so many times tonight, but yeah, we're well sidetracked again. If there's any listeners, that actually have made it this far and are at the Whaka, do come see us. Come and say g'day. Tell us your thoughts on the show. We'd love to meet you. Come and say hi, especially Red Dog. He's a friendly chap.
I'd love to meet some fans.
Into the raffle to be Leicester's feeder for the next 12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
Good
You
luck.
gotta guess how many lollies are in the jar or something. I don't know.
You gotta guess how many gels are in KB's gut. Raffle.
Yeah, we'll raffle it off.
KB's gonna be sitting on a podium somewhere going, guess the gels in his gut. All right, kids.
Oh well, and with that, we'll see you next week post Whaka to hear how many gels indeed did go in my gut.
All right.
I come from the land of down on I can't hear you. What was that? I can't hear you. I let it be like John Lennon, the anti-serum that you don't get for poisonous venom. Read the label carefully, I'm only here for the show. I love hip-hop too much to let you feed my ego. In the key of F-U-C-K, Y-O-U. I mean, why do I owe you if you're not helping me through? I mean, why do I owe you if you're obstructing my view? Success is not my castle, just a house that's brand new. You see, I irrigate the culture, give it shape like a sculpture. Still complicated, drop like I'm supposed to. B-L-I-T-Z like my DJ.